One of the things that I think back very pleasantly on in my working life, and this has happened to me not just with my work life but generally in my life, is the fact that I was able to build some absolutely wonderful teams. And probably one of the absolute best was my team in Ambadi, New Ambadi Estates. I had 5 assistants. There was Arun Kumar Menon, there was Suresh Menon, there was Sunil Abraham, there was Roshan Appaya, and there was Janat. So 5 of them, Janat was in the factory, the other 4 were in the field. New Ambadi Estate was 2,000 plus acres of rubber with about 200 acres of coconut, a beautiful coconut nursery. It is located in Kulashekaram in Kanyakumari district in Tamil Nadu, which is almost on the border between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So it brings to the culture of the place an amalgam of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So very beautiful place. I've written extensively about it in my book In a Teacup, as well as in my book It's My Life, so you can read about that. But I wanted to speak specifically about team building. When I went to Ambadi, and I won't go into the details of what I found there and what not and so on and so forth, we'll go to that later, but the thing that I discovered there was the absolute necessity of having a powerful, functioning, self-reliant, confident team to work with me. I mean, there was no way that anything that I wanted to do there could have been done without that kind of a team. Now, I had these 5 assistants, and then I had about 20 plus staff members, which were non-covenanted staff. Those of you, my planter friends watching this, understand the meaning of covenanted and non-covenanted. My non-planter friends will also understand it. If you are in the army, this is the difference between the officer and the NCOs. In the police, it's the difference between the IPS and the non-IPS, and so on and so forth. So that is the difference. Now, these people, I found them in a state where they were completely demotivated, and they were not functioning as a team. There wasn't any team. I mean, there was individual people trying to keep their keep afloat and keep their head above water. Now, I did a couple of things. The first thing I did was I convinced them about the importance of making mistakes. Now, the first time I used this term to them, I said it's very important for you to make mistakes. Now, they thought some of them thought I was crazy, some of them thought I was pulling their legs, some of them thought this was a trap. I don't know what they thought, but anyway, I told them the importance of making mistakes. So I said, you don't be afraid of making mistakes. Do make a mistake. Well, like all good, sensible people, they decided to just wait and watch and see what happens. But then, people are people, so somebody made a mistake. Now, when someone made a mistake, my reaction to that, the normal reaction would have been to catch the person, blame them, within quotes, punish them, whichever. Punish doesn't mean you beat them or something, but punish meaning in whichever way, show some displeasure. What I said was, you made a mistake, fantastic, brilliant, I love you, come, let's go sit down. Now, then I would call, I had set up a system of weekly staff meetings. So we would bring this mistake, within quotes, into that weekly staff meeting, and before we got to the staff meeting, I used to tell the person who made the mistake, now I want you to do this. I want you to write down, give me one sheet of paper to say why that mistake happened, how could it have been prevented, and what are you going to do now to foolproof that system, that this mistake never happens again. Now remember, I'm not saying that any mistake doesn't, no, that particular kind of mistake doesn't happen again. So what are three things? Why did it happen in your view? Number 2, what could have been done to prevent it? Number 3, what can be done now to ensure this mistake never happens? Or this kind of mistake never happens again. So now this is what they came up with. And then we would take this piece of paper and we would analyze it and we would have back and forth with it in the meeting, people sharing their thoughts, people sharing their comments and so on, adding value to that. Now, when I'm saying foolproof, it's like in automobile engineering manufacture, you will know there's something called the pin and hole principle, which is if there are two components which have to be meshed together, and if there is a particular way in which you want to mesh them. See my fingers, for example. Now I can mesh my fingers like this, which is my little finger of this hand and little finger of this hand. They are on top of each other. I can do it this way, or I can also mesh my fingers this way, which is the fingers are there and these two little fingers now are free, or I can mesh my fingers in this way, where I am like this now with my thumb free. So there are the many ways. But if I say that the way in which I want these two components to mesh and they must always be like this, then what they do in automobile engineering is in one component they make a hole, and in the other component there is a pin, there is something that is protruding, and the only way that hole will go into the pin is when it is meshed in this way. So then there is no really thought involved, there's no particular decision making involved. All you do is put it together and do click, it's gone, khalas, it's meshed. Now this is what we call foolproofing. You make sure that there is no foolish mistake. There is nobody takes a different kind of a decision. You are sure that the same decision is taken in exactly the same way which you know works. So this is what we did in the meetings. If you make a mistake, fantastic. Come to the meeting with a one-pager on why did that happen, what could have been done to prevent it from happening, and what do you plan to do now. So this was one team building exercise. Now the result of that was that the people's fear of making mistakes went away, because they realized that there is no price to pay, there is no punishment. Mistakes are treated like mistakes. Mistakes are not treated like crimes. So if it's the same mistake is made a second time, then we say a mistake made a second time is a decision. It's not a mistake. Therefore, that decision will attract a punishment. Don't do it again. Don't make sure you do not repeat the mistake. How do you not repeat the mistake? By ensuring that you have a foolproof system which will prevent that mistake from happening again. This is how you do it. So this is the first thing we did. Second thing we did was that I encouraged new ideas, and I told them don't worry about whether the idea is practical, not practical, sounds wild, whatnot, because this is the biggest killer of all good ideas. Those of you who are familiar with brainstorming, you will know that we have a period, the ideating period in brainstorming, where you invite more and more ideas, and we say two things. One is we say piggyback on each other's ideas, and second thing we say is that the wilder it is, the more freaked out it is, the better, because it means that your creative energy is at work, and we want this creative energy. We need that creative energy for problem solving. So therefore we encourage such ideas. And during that ideating period, one thing which we completely and totally ban is the word practical. So nobody is allowed to say, you know what, yeah, that's right, it's impractical. No, we can't be. No. We will come to that. Second stage, we are going to look at how do you implement the idea. There we are going to look at the practicality of the thing. But here we are going to look at the idea itself. So I used to sort of combine these two, and I would say that if you want some improvements, if you want something new to be done, then come up with ideas. And don't worry if the idea doesn't seem to be practical. Don't worry if you seem to have a partial solution. By all means, take the idea, share it with others, try to come to a solution, but don't shut it down, and don't shut down your own thinking process by saying, well, I don't have a practical idea. No, come with that. So they would come with the ideas, and then we would do the same thing. We would go around in the meeting, and we would try to come up with translating those ideas into practical solutions. The third thing we did was we set up sentient systems, which is we set up ways and means of meeting and just meeting, socializing, sharing experience. Now, I didn't do that by going to a pub or just having a dinner. We did do some dinners, and they were very enjoyable. But we did something much more valuable, which is that we went and we did some things which were challenging individually. One of the things we did was that we did a trek. I did it twice to Manjole, which is the BBTC's Bombay Burma Trading Companies, which is one of the tea companies in South India. It is their tea estates on top of the Western Ghats, the tail end of it, which is near Ambadi. There is something called the Manimutar Dam, which is on top, which is in Tirunelveli district. Now you could go there, you could drive up from Tirunelveli, but instead of that, we went up, we climbed up the mountain. And climbing up the mountain was literally going straight up the hill, 4,500 feet, 1,500 meters. Literally, it's a very steep climb, going straight up the hill, up to the top. So at daybreak one morning, we started. It was in this case, it was not the whole team. It was myself, Arun, and then there was Roshan Appaya, who was with us. So it was Roshan, myself, Arun, and we had the assistant superintendent of police of Takkale, Surya Prasad. He was also with us. He was a good friend of mine, and when he heard that we were going, he said, I also want to come. And he said, I have a police station on top, and I will also go and inspect that police station. So I asked him, I said, is there a lot of crime in that place? He said, well, in the last 1 year, we had 2 thefts. So it was like a safe place, you might say. So 4 of us, we climbed. Now, Kanyakumari is a very hot and humid place. And climbing up mountains is not the preferred exercise in that place. But we decided to go. So literally at daybreak we left, because we thought the further up we can get in before the sun comes up, the better off for us. And that was a fact anyway. Now, as we are climbing, this is very steep. It's overgrown, so we are slashing our way through some bush. Some of those, the track was deeply fissured with rainwater, so it was very uneven. So you had to watch your step, otherwise you could sprain an ankle or something, and you didn't want to have a sprained ankle or a broken leg at that elevation. But eventually, it took us, I think, totally about maybe 3 hours or something. We got to the top, and then of course it didn't end there. From there, it was 8 miles walking up to the Manjole Club, where we eventually reached. And there, my dear friend Ricky Muttana was there. He was the general manager of BBTC, and he was delighted to see us, and we got a absolutely hero's welcome. So, fourth thing was this, which is the Ascension Systems, doing things together and doing things which are meaningful, doing things which give each person a sense of achievement, and something where each person needs the other in order to succeed. Now, that's one of the things we realized on this trek. With each of us was morally helping, was just encouraging each other, helping each other, maybe give somebody upper hand at some point. Or someone carries the water, someone carries some sandwiches. So, when we are sharing, we share, we drink water. A halfway point, we stop for a rest, and we're joking. The whole point is that you're doing something which is giving this sense of working together, of helping one another, and knowing how each one is useful and beneficial for the other. Now, these are the things that we did in order to build what, to me, and I'm now talking about from 1989, 92, I left there, and we are in 2020. The memory is fresh. Those people are there. I'm in touch with them practically on a daily basis. We're the best of friends, and that memory is fresh because of this shared struggle. Some of that struggle was because of labor unions and this and that. All of those details are in other places that I've written about. But some of those struggles were deliberately created in order to build teams and to build that adhesive which brings together people who are engaged in a within quotes noble cause which is worth doing. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this. Be safe. Wear masks, wash your hands, social distance, individual distance, and so on and so forth. See you next time.